those that maybe don't know anything about you, this is the first time they're seeing you. Tell me a little bit about your background and where you come from.
Well, I'm born and raised in Bakersfield, so lived in Kern County 55 years, all my life, and my wife and I moved to Tehachapi 2018, just to get a fresh start. And we own a small farm in Tehachapi and really enjoy it there. And that's essentially it. So I'm also a realtor, and that's my day job. And I've had 20 years of experience in business management, senior middle management roles, which include CEO, vice president, operations, and construction, finance, just almost every area in corporate management. And I have a bachelor's degree in business management, and so I really think that it contributes to the job.
Definitely. And so let's talk a little bit about the district.
Yes.
District 2, it's a very large place. And I think a lot of people in Bakersfield who necessarily don't get out very much don't really know what culturally the second district is all about. What is District 2 about to you?
District 2 is a large geographic area, and the needs are diverse. And it ranges from the west side, which is the oil and gas industry, and which is very important to Kern County because we supply over 70% of the oil and gas to the state of California. And it's absolutely essential to Kern County. And moving into the Bakersfield area, and it is agriculture, and which we are a huge exporter, even to the world. And water, that's another necessary resource that we need. And then up to the mountain communities, where we have the Pine Mountain Club, Fraser Park, Lebec, which have a large tourist attraction, which I think is awesome because it is something that we have from LA to Northern California, where we have this attraction where the mountains are beautiful, the communities are amazing over there, and then moving over to Tehachapi, where for a long time we've had the apple orchards, and that's been a well-known thing, a tourist attraction to Kern County. And then moving over to the areas of the high desert, that's also been an attraction that where people could just enjoy the vastness of the desert, because it is natural beauty up there, and hoping to continue to preserve some of that. And we have the spaceport. We have Mojave, the spaceport there. We have the Edwards Air Force Base. So it's very diverse, and we have a lot of needs.
Well, and do you think almost that diversity of that area, because it is just so large and has so many different kind of communities, does that almost make it more unique and have different needs than the rest of the other districts in Kern County?
I think in a major part, the oil and gas industry, the ag industry, really contributes as a tax revenue for supporting a majority of Kern County. Yes, the other needs in Kern County are also diverse. I think that by and large, those supports with oil and gas and ag really contribute to fulfilling many of the needs in Kern County for the other districts.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into the issues in a second, but I wanted to know what inspired you to want to run for this office. Why do you want this job?
Well, two things. One is that I believe I'm called, and it has a large part to do with my faith. And I believe God called me to this job. And I know that what I have to offer comes with a long history of working in business and understanding the dynamics in the private sector. So I've had more training and experience in the private sector, and I think that contributes to a better understanding than the people I'm running against. And also, I've been talking with a lot of different leaders and community members in every community of the district, and they're frustrated. We've been, by and large, ignored, unrepresented, and then ultimately feeling abandoned. I think with a number of the other interviews that have been done by the news organizations, the people have confessed that they feel abandoned and they need representation. So I believe that is an area I feel very qualified for, and I've been trained for this, so that's a good thing.
And you're right, and from talking to the other candidates, too, and from people in the district, they do feel like we've had a representative, but they don't feel represented.
Right.
What can you do to kind of bridge that gap that you can do better than perhaps your opponents?
I connect really well with people. Mm-hmm. It's part of my day in and day out job as a realtor. And I have the skill of listening. I know that I can understand just by spending that time with the people in all communities and listening to them. So what I will do, what I commit to doing, is meeting regularly with each community, be it via a Zoom meeting where we can have more than one community, but then also meeting in person regularly and having the roundtable discussions with the community leaders and inviting the community together, town halls, so that we can gather their ideas and concerns, because they have ideas. It's not just going to be about me. I can lead, but it's going to take all of us working together.
Absolutely. So let's jump into the issues now. What do you feel are some of the biggest issues affecting Kern County, or maybe Kern County as a whole, and then specifically with your district, and how do you plan to address those?
Kern County as a whole, we are lacking revenues greatly, and the number one reason is the oil and gas industry. I understand that there's a phasing out time frame. Say, my understanding is 2045. However, it's going to be very difficult to see that happening anytime soon, because a lot of the products in the studio, a lot of the products that we have day in and day out are made from petroleum products, including electric car products. So I don't see that disappearing soon. The main issue is that the state has passed down, has legislated unfair mandates and regulations to shut down what is a viable and necessary resource. So that's the biggest area I see in concern, which then also fills all of the other needs for revenues to operate on for the rest of Kern County.
Well, and then from that, so how do we go about fixing that issue? Because obviously a lot of these mandates are coming down from the state level and the state legislature. This is just a county government.
Right.
So what role do you have in being on the Board of Supervisors in pushing back against that?
I think collectively with the board and with the community in large, we can push back. We can make our voices heard with the state. I think it's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort, negotiations, a lot of communicating with state leaders, and especially with individual local leaders that we have that are representing us at the state, like Shannon Grove. She's been amazing at taking our concerns, Central Valley, to the state, and really making some inroads for garnering more revenues for our area.
Definitely. Well, and so I think from talking to people too is that it seems like there's almost kind of people are almost a little bit jaded, right? Like from talking to people about the Board of Supervisors, is that I think a lot of people have a lot of passion and frustration about what's happening, at the state level, and I think some people feel like the Board of Supervisors almost kind of goes along to get along. There's not a lot of, I guess, fight, you could say. You know, do you agree with that sentiment? And if you were to be elected to the board, you know, will you be a fierce advocate for your district, or one that just kind of, you know, wants to kind of, not necessarily keeps the status quo, but is a little bit more tempered and mannered?
Well, I'm definitely not a politician, and I have worked in business long enough to learn that there are times when you need to put your foot down. Now, having said that, it's negotiations.
Sure.
That's where it begins. It's working with the other supervisors and understanding what we can agree on, and then moving past that to agree that we're a diverse community, and we have to recognize the other needs of the other districts. So the question is, how are we going to be able to do that? And the answer is to continue to remind each other who is important first. It's the voters. It is our constituents. It's the people. We have to take care of the people. We've been elected to those positions. And that's what I'm passionate about, is that I've watched too long from the sidelines as a voter and thinking that, oh, this person who's been endorsed by this many organizations, well, certainly they can do something. Well, by and large, history has shown us that those organizations that typically endorse have expectations.
Yeah.
And those expectations always overrule the voice of the people. And so I would rather have the endorsements from local business, which I support, and my voters, because they're the voices that matter the most. I work for them. So that's what I will do.
Absolutely. So another issue that we kind of talk about with this in this race that's kind of been really important is the issue of taxation. Obviously, because we talk about county revenues,
Right.
You know, the relevance of measure money. You know, are you someone that is willing to potentially increase taxes if it means increased county budgets?
The direct answer is no. I do not believe in raising taxes. Considering what's happening now in our economy, both national and locally, the people are getting pinched very hard, and they're left with nowhere to turn. So the supervisors, the Board of Supervisors, have a fiduciary responsibility to make something work. I believe that we need to revisit, take a deep dive in the budgets, really understand where the money's going and what we're spending it on, and cut where we need to cut, reallocate where we need to reallocate. And I think that we can find, again, coming from business, the bottom line matters. From private business, I understand what it would take to make a business run. So I don't overrun budgets like typically we've seen governments do. You know, government leaders do that. It's historical. I'm not that person. We need to take a very strong look, very serious look at the budgets and make sure that the money's getting spent properly in the areas that absolutely need it, and then we reallocate the funds where it's unnecessary or unneeded, and make sure that we're being effective long term. That's what matters.
Now, is there anything in the budget that you know of now that you see as kind of just like, this is a fatty project, you know, like this is something that, you know, if I get elected is going to be kind of my priority to take some of that? Is there anything in the budget that kind of is just a glaring issue to you?
I need to take a better look at the budget as it is right now. But I would say primarily, I hear a lot of talk. I've seen a lot of news interviews, a lot of reports about more and more funding coming in to deal with the homeless crisis that we're facing right now. Lived here long enough to see that it's getting worse. So I would say if there's an area that really seriously needs reviewing, it would be the budget that where the funds are going to, the homeless projects, and then where it's actually being spent, because we have a lot of organizations, nonprofits, churches, and agencies that are doing an effective job, but there's so many of them. I believe we can bring them together. We can unify. We can really get better at utilizing those services to be more effective without spreading out the funds and making very little difference.
So you almost kind of see it as, rather than, I mean, everybody's still getting, a piece of the pie, but
Sure.
rather than kind of having individual plans, for each of these different groups, kind of creating a coalition so that we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I've been kind of working on this a little bit, and I call it the Homeless to Hope Initiative. And I really believe it's something that we can come together and work on, because we're a community. We're human beings, we're individuals, and I look at it as I have not been put on this earth for myself. I have been placed on this earth to love and serve other people, to be a difference in other people's lives. Because if I go through life just collecting and garnering the things that I want, what do I end up with at the end of my life? Is it meaningful? No. That's where my heart is. That's where my passion is definitely about making a difference for people and making sure that it's not just needs that are met, but it's bringing a fulfilling mission to sharing life together. And I believe that's where my spiritual calling is to make that meaningful difference in people's lives by caring and loving and laying down my life for others.
So could you perhaps, I know that you talk about the Homeless to Hope Initiative as kind of a new thing that you're working on, but are you able to share any of kind of what that plan entails?
Right now it's an overview of that, but it's working a little more broadly.
Sure.
With not only the community organizations and nonprofits, but it's also working together with property owners, where there's a lot of unused property that I believe that with working with our local government and working with the agencies, we can really effectively build, develop programs and places. And I realize there are already programs and places working now.
Yeah.
But to create a place where those that truly want to get help off the streets, that are homeless, that are displaced, they can find these places and work together in developing these homes, shelters, and take part in that, so that when they get into the ground level of developing, they are basically stakeholders. It garners a mentality of being a stakeholder. Then they feel a little more pride in being able to be a part in that. And then going through training, going through developmental skill classes, they can really gain a sense of self, rebuild an understanding of who they are, and take those life skills and even trades to the next step in their life and get back into being a productive member of society.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's move a little bit more into the race itself and kind of going
Sure,
forward.
okay.
We hear a lot, I watch the public comment portions of every supervisor's meeting. There's always a lot of people who feel frustrated by the way the current state of the board is going.
Right.
Are you happy with the way the current board of supervisors is working for the community? And if not, how do you plan on being a person that can go about fixing that?
I do believe there are things that the board is doing to help the community. I think their intentions are good. And again, looking at it from a voter's position, where I've been on the sidelines, where I watched, where I participated from the side, I can't honestly say that there's been a lot of good, where there's been major things that have taken place, and we're seeing a greater scale of benefit to our communities. That's one thing I want to bring to the board, and that's where I feel like I am most effective, is to be a liaison from the people, listening to their ideas, and working together with the other supervisors. I'm an effective communicator. I can negotiate. I will be able to work together with the other, because I'm a team player. The other supervisors, they'll see me as a team player, and I know that I can make a big difference. And we only have 2 years to do it, so I'm going to hit the ground running, and I'm going to be effective.